Hey everybody, welcome back to Ingram Micro 1, and we're talking about AI and innovation with my good buddy Eric. How you doing, buddy?
Nice to meet you, Mike.
All right, welcome to the show. I guess a lot of folks are talking about AI. It was almost like ubiquitous here in terms of
Yeah,
conversation, but we're still barely scratching the surface. So where do you see kind of like the potential and the immediate opportunity for partners?
yeah. I think it's a great point, and that's always where we see the start, right? It's this. I think in the U.S. you say drink your own champagne. There are also other ways to say this. I prefer the champagne one. Now, what we're seeing in the partner base is twofold adoption. You see adoption of you could say the standardized, the productivity-related AI projects that are generative in nature, right? So that's your meeting assistants. It's also customer service related, a lot of that. So you see that internal adoption because all of them are resource constrained. Like there are very few partners here that are like, hey, we have more people than we know what to do with. Usually not the case, especially not in currently a market where the IT adoption and the speed of change is so fast that you can barely capture all the opportunity that's there, right? So it's a good problem to have. I'm not saying there aren't tough environments, but that's a good opportunity or a good problem to have. So how are they dealing with it? One, they're quickly adopting some of those kind of almost off-the-shelf AI solutions to focus on efficiency and productivity. That's stream one. That's straightforward. It is basically the fastest way for them to create AI fluency for every employee of an MSP, of a VAR of SI, right? Because if you use it daily, you create fluency. But then the real projects that they're doing and that they're drinking their own champagne internally are the first places where they're going into business processes and they're going agentic essentially and saying, okay, what's the first type of process where we have, and I use the word, I call it non-human value add, which might be a bit contentious, but what I mean with that is you have a process that requires action taking that isn't always deterministic, but the result of it is right or wrong. Once it's right, there is no quality to it. Once you've done it right, it can't be good or better. It's just right. That's the starting point, and that's where we're seeing lots of partners focus and say, okay, what do we have? It's not about replacing humans, that we can essentially introduce agentic because we want to get to the point where we're not just talking about generative AI, we're talking about AI that's taking action to give the customer superpower. So that's the adoption we're seeing. What we're not seeing so much at scale are like the model fine tuning, deep kind of model training. We have partners that do this, but that's not the broad spectrum because it's a long way to scale ROI if you're a smaller partner and a big investment to do this. And ultimately, you have many other places that will get you an outcome and fluency much more quickly and at scale.
How do I navigate this challenge? A lot of the business processes are to use what the AI folks will call deterministic, right? They're supposed to be done the same way every time. AI is probabilistic and rarely does the same thing the same way twice. How do I kind of meld those two things together to get to something interesting?
I think there are again two ways in which to control this. One is you got to have someone that controls model drifting in the broadest sense, right? The difference in the deterministic programming, which is input A, output B, that we've created those decision trees, right? Even in customer service and support, when you were talking to bots, that's essentially a very large decision tree. You're going to a place where, depending on, let's take Gen AI as an example, and like a service bot or something that's answering questions, helping with decisions. It's not just that it's deterministic, it's also learning through reinforcement. So if it starts getting asked questions that weren't the initial expected ones, its answers over time will also start changing. So a simpler way to think of this is, like I always say, like I send my kid to school. My kid has like his circle of friends, his class, and I kind of know the behavior. Right? It's not going to be perfectly deterministic, but I know who he's around, what they talk about, what they like doing. Now imagine all of a sudden his behavior starts changing. Probably something in the environment changed. Been exposed to a new group of friends, whatever that is. They're having different conversations. They're doing different things. Behavior changes. Without anthropomorphizing, and that's the same thing happening with those more probabilistic and drifting AI models. So step one is make sure that you have someone looking that is kind of regrounding Less about hallucination, right? But regrounding that. Point two, in this, and that's actually, I think, a trend that isn't just solving an immediate challenge, but that will be around in the long run, is human in the loop, right? That's the straight up answer, right? You want to ensure that you have a human in the loop, not so much to say this is right or wrong, but really to ensure consistent improvement of quality of what those systems are doing. And yeah, on the off chance, also making sure that doesn't go off the deep end, basically. So human in the loop will be around for a long time.
I think a lot of partners are looking for something easy to get started with.
Yeah.
And you've seen some use cases out there that might be easier to replicate than others. So, what's your best advice to partners about, here's something you can go do on a dime and it'll work out well,
Yeah.
and you'll get that muscle memory you're talking about.
No, absolutely. So because we encounter this a lot at Ingram, we've created basically a program to help those partners confidently sell, deploy, and service AI solutions at scale, and ideally in a repeatable way. We call it Xvantage Enable AI, and it is what our partners can go and seek on the Xvantage platform. It is aided by all our local expert teams, so they are being hand-held. Why, right? The starting point is you need to understand, as an MSP, as an SI, as a VAR, where do I stand today relative to AI? Even if you've already built an AI practice, which in our experience has been, there's always a gap because it's changing so fast. So what's my business understanding, my technical understanding, what's my service capability that I have? And not to forget, almost the most important things, what is the current ask/need of my customers? So example, I'm an MSSP, but all my partners, all my customers are talking about is using AI for productivity, right? So I have a choice. Pivot and start also doing productivity related technology business. Hard force the security conversation into the productivity conversation, which is valid. You should consider it, but it's going to prolong any implementation, and that dime will turn into multiples very quickly. Or wait until the first thing is implemented, something relative to productivity, and then fast follow. Okay. So once that's done, the key thing is repeatable use cases focused on business outcome, on select industries, because that's a language that every partner today speaks. Without an AI training can open up the opportunities. So what we decided to say, we focus on only 3 business outcomes, which is, yes, right now it's for AI, but it's the same for any tech. Either you're deploying it as an end customer to be more productive, more with less, more faster, any of these permutations, productivity, or to create a better experience for your customers, for your employees, for your suppliers, doesn't matter, or that. Or you're deploying a technology product to shore up security or governance. Those are kind of the 3 only outcomes that are relevant. The reason that's important here, you talked about on a dime, because in the first scenario, productivity, I can turn around a business case in probably 3 minutes. Experience is going to be a little bit harder. We've all experienced that, right? Security is not hard, but it is cost avoided versus, immediate benefit created. Now, once you have this and you map this to an industry, and we do focus on manufacturing, retail, healthcare, finance, and now also public sector, you have the kind of trifecta of, I'm trying to solve a productivity-focused business problem for somebody in retail using technology from OEM X, not to mention them here today. Then you have a very clear path of what you need to do. And what we're seeing there today is that all the initial lift, as boring as it might sound, are quick productivity-based wins in a very simple way. If you're using something like a Copilot, like I'm really taking that example. Let's say you pay, I'm going to use an arbitrary number, $20 for a seat a month, okay? The first time you've saved yourself an hour of work, which will probably happen on the first day of usage, you're going to think of that as that ROI, because an hour is probably going to cost you more than $20. So that is very easy, but the crux is not just sell it. It's making sure that people know how to use it, no different to past technologies, and adopt it, because that creates that tidal wave to move deeper into process and agentic, etc. So as kind of standard as it sounds, it's creating those 80% of time, 20% of value projects first, productivity, to then go into 20% of knowledge worker time, 80% of value projects next.
Ingram is clearly invested heavily in AI. How does the knowledge transfer between you and the partners occur? Because it's not just enough to have something I can go and download and install. I kind of have to know something about this. So how do you guys take all the intellectual capital that you guys have created and kind of share that with the partners?
Great question. So I'd say in two, maybe three ways. One is my team's focused on internal Ingram AI fluency that's not technology specific, to ensure that over time, every single person that works at Ingram Micro can help the partners understand and navigate basically what's happening with AI. Not down to the technical level unless you have that role, right? That's the first piece, because that's how it scales, right? We have over 20,000 associates in over 50 countries that are engaging these 160,000 plus partners, and that is the way in which they thoroughly can transfer that knowledge. That's the first one. The second one is I spoke about Xvantage Enable AI. So that's actually the digital platform where they can find the assessment and their knowledge, the use cases, and then the repeatable, we call them growth tracks, where they can build a practice. However, that's digital. The way we do this is in every country, our local organization adds to it their local engagement. So they'll say, based on who the partner is, the business they're doing with us, and the commitment they have to taking this AI transformation serious, we're going to add these workshop components, these certification components, which are human interlock, right? So human in the loop, if you will. So we're doing the same thing at a local level. This program is all the automation, scalability, and self-service side of it, make it really easy to use. And then the depth of knowledge comes through the transfer of our teams locally being involved, from the business, technical, all the way to the service side.
Okay. Last question. So what's your best advice to the partners? What should they be focused on right now?
I think in English you say get stuck in, right? I would say engage with us right now. Come to Enable AI and talk to your Ingram counterpart to it. Understand where you are today. If you don't have a strategy, understand where you are today and where your partners, your customers want you to be and what they want from you. And on that basis, build a roadmap that is very concrete, outcome focused, and not about the hype side of the technology, but basically understand where you are, build a custom roadmap. And again, the advice is no different than on any other technology. Focus is what will make you win. If you really understand your customer, that could be their vertical, the geo they operate in, the cultural context they operate in, and then also are able to map the technology to that scenario, you will win. If you just have a great relationship, go golfing, go playing tennis, whatever that might means, your relevance will wane very quickly. That's been said for a long time, but with technology taking on really more and more proactive pieces, that is what's going to happen. So I'd say get stuck in right now. If you treat it as hype or treat it as a bubble, you will not be around, because nothing has ever moved as fast as this trend.
Hey, buddy, thanks for coming.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
As they say, context is everything.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for this year's Ingram Micro conference from us. And thank you all for watching all these episodes. And it's been a great time on our behalf. And I want to thank Ingram Micro for having us. And hopefully we'll see you all next year.